Punk Revolutionaire! Today we're reviewing Backwash's newest album, His Happiness Will Come First Even Though We Are Suffering. That is a long album title. I like long album titles, and Backxwash has a lot of those. Her last album was actually one of my favorites of last year. I think I put it as my second best album of 2021, which was As I Lie Here, Buried in My Rings and My Dresses. Long titles. I like long titles, but it makes my job as a music critic hard, because I have to say it out loud. And they're like tongue twisters. I like here dressers in my... Anywho, Backxwash is epic. Really excited she's releasing another album. This is a part of a trilogy. She's got a trilogy going on. Her last album was the second on the trilogy. This is the third album of the trilogy. So, obviously, excited to hear the trilogy conclude from a freaking fantastic artist making industrial rap that's super dense and epic and crazy and chaotic and beautiful and emotional and powerful. More on that I will talk about as we review the album. But first, let's start by taking a look at the album cover. I really love this album cover. I love the use of black and white. It just looks really freaking great. It looks like some sort of like humble little church that with the black and white and kind of visual weird stuff going on. Maybe it's like evil, satanic, cursed. It's been haunted by the devil, so no one goes there anymore. Stay away. It's a haunted church that's been abandoned, and it looks maybe like it's on fire or something. It looks, to me, when I look at this album cover, honestly, what comes to mind is that this is like a metal album cover. Like, this is like black metal, some like atheist Satanist band that maybe is making some experimental shoegazy black metal or something like that. That's kind of what I get. But if there's any hip-hop artist that can get away with using a satanic kind of metalish looking album cover, it's obviously Backxwash, both because obviously there's intense lyrical themes here about a lot of contradictions and frustrations about the hypocrisy of religion. More on that later. And then obviously also just going back to the fact that I said this looks like a metal album cover, there is actually a mathcore band here that incorporates their really dissonant, kind of almost metal tinged guitars and harsh screams into the music. So you are going to get that same dense, that kind of abrasive, really harsh listening experience from listening to Backxwash. Is very noisy, industrial, very bleak. It's freaking bleak. Look how bleak this cover is. This is right here. The definition of bleak. The music is very bleak, but it's not bleak in just a very one-dimensional way, because Backxwash as an artist is packing so much into every single one of her albums. Like, this is only 38 minutes long, and it blows my mind because there is just so much stuff going on here on so many different levels. Just starting with the lyrics and the vocal delivery. So for context here, what I'm picking up is that Backxwash is a black trans woman. She's lives in Canada. Seems like she probably grew up in like a religious household, and in this religious household, she is basically being abused. Is what I'm picking up here. First off, there's just so much hypocrisy within religion and Christianity, simultaneously being told that God loves you and you're going to heaven and Jesus loves you and we're all at peace, blah 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 blah. But then obviously, especially in more conservative, traditional Christian households, it's all about how just you are a piece of shiz. You are a piece of shiz that needs to follow the rules because you are just full of sin, and you're probably gonna be an eternity of suffering after you die. I mean, look, when we see the album title here, His Happiness Comes First Even Though You Are Suffering, I wasn't sure what to make of it at first. I'm guessing the hymn in this title is God, just based off the lyrics here, but I was also thinking maybe like some sort of feminist kind of message here about women having to be to consider the man's happiness above theirs, but I think it's probably referring specifically to God, given that these are lyrics. Okay, you could just tell that Backxwash grew up in a religious household. One, because the lyrics are just like dense with so many obscure kind of Old Testament spiritual references, New Testament references, and two, just the fact that she is clearly like, her brain is clearly of someone who is a genius that has lived through absolute hell and torment and suffering of someone who grew up in an extremely religious family. That's already a really intense, heavy theme. And then you're combining with themes of dealing with racism throughout your life and hating yourself and being suicidal and maybe the role that racism has played in that. There's a really nice sample in this album of Malcom X talking about who taught you to hate your skin, who taught you to hate yourself. So I just want you to visualize. You're listening to this album, you have this song that has pupil Slicer, the mathcore band with these dissonant guitars, blaring, shrieking vocals, intense vocals and lyrics about hating yourself, and you're like, oh, this is so intense and so powerful, and just woo! And then all of a sudden, this next song comes around, and it's a Malcom X sample that's very, Malcolm X obviously frustrated and reflecting the amount of pain that racism against black people in America has caused, and that's just this is, you can see we're combining spirituality and religion, racism, transphobia, self-hatred, depression, mental illness, like all these intense things. And this is what Backxwash is grappling with. And you gotta just watch her throughout this album grapple with all these different themes. The end result is obviously gonna sound like this. It's gonna be bleak. It's gonna be heavy. When I say bleak, I don't mean it's empty or it's missing anything. It's packed. It's absolutely packed. And that's just the lyrics. There's so many other cool things going on here. I love the samples. I mean, on the second track, we have this really cool Lacrimosa Mozart sample that just swells and builds. Obviously, Mozart's a beautiful thing he's writing on his deathbed. Really grim, beautiful music. And then you have Backxwash. I love Backxwash's rapping. Like, I don't know what she's doing. She's got this really, really great rhythm that just sounds like she's able to capture that intense emotion, those dark, heavy, frustrated, depressed emotions, but also, like, there's a really intellectual side of it. Like, the rhythms she's using and the samples she's using, you have to be very, intellectually talented to be able to, like, put these complex pieces of the puzzle together, because that's what making music is. It's taking little things and putting the pieces of the puzzle together to make a song. And Backxwash is working with very complex elements here, both lyrically and then musically, metal, industrial, really punchy, powerful drums, lots of stuff here. And then of course she's got freaking fantastic features. Censored Dialogue did a fantastic feature on her last album. So happy to see her back on the newest album, just crushing it. What I love about Censored Dialogue, and this is true with her features and her own solo work, is the lyrics are just so blunt. Just let me tell you how fucked up everything is. That is just Censored Dialogue, just giving it to you, intense, personal. Like, take a look at how painful things are. That is, it's powerful. What I can tell here, listening to this album, there's so many things, is that just Backxwash is an artist who loves her art. This is painful music, I'm sure, to make and to put out to the world, but she's an artist. Every little detail, every lyric, whatever she's gonna say, whether it's a thoughtful spiritual reference, whether it's a thoughtful play on words, a thoughtful rhythm she chooses, a very thoughtful sample. Maybe, on the song with Censored Dialogue, there's this really cool sample that sounds like nature kind of like chirping in the background, but it turns into sort of like this industrial, really atmospheric, kind of dark and heavy thing. The song titles, I'm not sure exactly what language I'm guessing that's Zambian. I know Backxwash is Zambian Canadian, so I'm guessing that's a Zambian dialogue. I don't know what those words mean, but I'm sure Backxwash, being the artist that she is, really chose every single song title with a lot of thought. The album title, obviously, she makes sure she's not gonna let anything slide. That's why it's so dense. It's a 38-minute long album. I've listened to it so many times. Every time I listen, there's something new. It took me a while to review this because I'm like, okay, it's a lot to unpack here. Gotta dig through. And as an artist, I just have a lot of respect and love for it. Like, it's just like she has a good artistic intuition. And honestly, the only issue I have with this album is that it sounds a lot like her previous album. It's obviously a trilogy. They're going to be cohesive, sound pretty much in the same universe. I do feel like I got a lot of juice out of her previous album, just having my mind blown by having this concoction of industrial hip-hop presented to me. This album, pretty much on par with her previous one, but I just feel like because I've heard it from the last one, I'm not as thrilled with this, because it's just kind of it's similar to what I've heard, but this just kind of shows Backxwash's artistic intuition, saying, okay, this is the end of the trilogy. We've explored these themes all we need. Let's tie it in a bow and move on, because obviously Backxwash is just really smart like that, and I feel like it's a fantastic ending to the trilogy. I love the last song after you've made it through all these really intense, twists and turns, heavy samples, heavy features, heavy beats, heavy lyrics, fantastic rapping delivery, painful, powerful, beautiful stuff. The last song is a really, really beautiful, a little bit more melodic, a little bit lighter of a sample. Just kind of catch your breath. You made it through the end of the roller coaster. Now you can catch your breath. Beautiful rapping. As you can see, Backxwash has great artistic intuition, understands it's important to keep your album versatile. Just a really freaking fantastic all around. So, fantastic album all around. So, I'm giving this an 8.5 out of 10. Backxwash is just crushing it. I'm so in love with her music. I'm just so that's the thing. It's horrorcore, industrial metal, industrial hip hop. All these genres, they're really cool genres, and I love all the cool industrial hip hop coming out nowadays. But when it comes to incorporating that emotional element, that sheer honesty, and just sheer artistry, you really can't beat Backxwash. So congrats, Backxwash, on wrapping up a fantastic trilogy. Cannot wait to see where you go next. And awesome job. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I also dropped a new song with my band Fireman, so go stream that because we need more streams, but we're getting a lot of streams, so thanks for everybody who's streaming, and thanks so much for watching, everybody. Punk Revolution now.